For the past 6 years, I've been a Navy explosive ordnance disposal officer.
I went to the IOI like 3 times, got like 2 golds, 1 silver. We are building a propulsive landing liquid rocket,
wherein we use a plasma reactor to arc air with a very high electric voltage.
I graduated high school a few months ago, and I decided to take a full-time offer as a computational neuroscience researcher.
Wow, so you're not going to college?
Yeah, no college for now.
I was working at Coinbase. That was my senior year of high school. All the paperwork to work at like a big company, they usually have to require you to be 18 to sign documents and do background checks and stuff like that. So none of that would go through because I was 17. So I had to do some special measures.
My name's Annabella, and it's been a really wonderful week here at the startup school. And this is my older brother.
I'm a student at the University of Oxford in England, where I study mathematics and computer science.
I heard that you're how old?
I'm 15.
15?
Yeah. So currently I'm working on like a developer tool for machine learning. It's like a full development platform with an agent. And with it, you can also do like full training and model building, and like a research workbench.
I'm Saket, I'm 17, and I'm building a software that lets you control a fleet of robots as a single person. So rather than commanding, say for example, 10 drones, you only need to be one person so that you can control all 10 drones at a single time.
Yeah, so I did my undergraduate at MIT in aerospace engineering. And while I was there, I did the ROTC program with the Navy. And so for the past 6 years, I've been a Navy explosive ordnance disposal officer. And I just am getting out of the Navy now and moving on to my next thing.
How'd you get the internship?
It was through a hackathon, actually. I went to Eat Denver. So it's a 2-week hackathon in Denver. And I was just talking to a recruiter, and it just happened to work out. So I got really lucky, and I'm grateful. So right now, I just finished my internship. I was working at this company called Morph LLM. It's just a 2-person startup. And I also got the internship from a hackathon, a YC hackathon last summer.
I am an incoming junior at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And I also did the International Math Olympiad from 2022 to 2024, where I won a silver medal, and I also won a bronze medal in the International Olympiad in Informatics.
And I know that you also built a platform for other people to prepare for the exams.
There's like a training program called TeamCP, wherein like thousands of users on the platform called Codeforces are able to train on what's essentially like a perpetual training system. You're essentially just like able to like spam as many like problems as you want. So you're just like able to train like every day, or like you can train at any frequency that you want.
For piano, I self-taught myself to play at Carnegie Hall.
Amazing.
And it was then that a professor told my parents, I'd love to teach her. I'll give you a lower price to teach her. So we've built a lot of projects. One of them is technology for health and learning. So it allows kids to become healthier while learning at the same time. And this won the Best Tech Award at the Stanford Medical School.
Amazing.
Another one we did is in glycobiology, computational medicine. And I built a tool that allows researchers to predict monosaccharide compositions of glycans in a given mass. And these glycans can be found in different types of things like cancer, and also Cryptococcus neoformans, which is the world's deadliest fungus.
3 years ago, I started a new project in our student team, which is called the Hopper project, and we are building a propulsive landing liquid rocket. So what this is it's basically a 5-meter tall rocket, but it doesn't fly very high. It just hovers above the ground, and then it lands back using the engine. I joined university, and I really wanted to build a liquid rocket engine, but I needed a kind of application for it, so I just thought no one ever built a propulsive landing rocket as a student.
What was the hack that you had to do to make it happen?
Yeah, so for the manufacturing of the rocket, we are on a quite tight budget, so we sometimes have to think of really simple solutions for complex problems. And one of them was using salad bowls for the propellant tanks. So the propellant tanks store lots of fuel and oxidizer in high pressure. And for the domes of the tanks, we just bought salad bowls from China, which took some time to get to the idea of just doing it.
I am a freshman at the University of Washington pursuing electrical and computer engineering. I'm from India. I come from a family that has been into farming since generations. I'm making something called as plasma activated water. So the problem in agriculture, especially with the post-harvest industry, is farmers harvest their produce and they clean it with chlorine-based washing methods to kind of kill the microbial loads. So we're replacing chlorine and other chemical incumbents with something called as plasma-activated water, wherein we use a plasma reactor to arc air with a very high electric voltage, which kind of ionizes the gases into reactive species, which we take and dissolve in water. And so we route that through a conveyor belt. And so all a farmer now does is harvests his produce, comes up to us, throws it onto this conveyor belt, and collects it on the other end, now washed with plasma-activated water instead of any chemicals. We ended up selling a couple pilots to, national food safety labs in India and a couple universities here in the US too. And our preliminary lab trials have shown better disinfection than chlorine and other chemicals, whilst being cheaper than all industrial solutions, with no chemical residues, no toxic byproducts, no health impacts to farmers. And so we're really bullish on plasma activated water being the future of ag tech and the agriculture industry. I'm a beatboxer. I've been beatboxing since almost 10 years now. If you don't know what beatboxing is, it's basically making weird noises with your mouth, hoping people will find you cool.
Yeah.
So it sounds something like...
Hey.
We just signed a paid pilot with one of our mining companies. So it's really exciting. They're from Chile, and we're in talks with 20 other more founders who are really interested in this. So it's going pretty great.
I saw that you're working on this project for neonatal care units. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it started when I visited a hospital and I saw that the technology that they were using to detect seizures in babies was kind of archaic. And they were doing it manually. They had an on-call physician that was watching the seizure monitor. And I was like, let's look at what the field is. What's the research that's currently being done? And it turns out that a lot of it is just looking at purely brain signal fluctuations. And that's what my intuition would be as well, because my background is largely in neuroscience. But when I looked into the physiology of how a neonatal seizure actually occurs, it turns out a large part of it is correlations between brain and heart activity. And so I designed a deep learning system that combines the multimodal nature of these seizures and uses it to predict seizures in babies effectively.
We have a lot of good technology at our disposal in the EOD community, but there's always little things that as an end user we need to improve to execute the mission. We've used 3D printing, hacking together software to kind of help us execute the mission with tools that we need at the moment, but may take time to acquire through the DoD acquisitions process. There's a lot of interest growing. The new neoprimes, the big names like Andor have shown that you can develop the product before the government puts out the request for the contract. So predicting what's the next big thing, thinking ahead 5-10 years down the road and building it now. Over the last 5-6 months, I've been building a manufacturing ERP that's AI native. The goal here is, as we look to reinvigorate the American industrial base, how are we going to do that and manufacture at scale? And I think a lot of it comes down to building new AI-enabled software that can replace legacy ERPs that are extremely complicated and just don't work for manufacturing in the US.
I'm currently working on Markov decision processes, which I find to be absolutely incredible and really interesting, especially since I'm studying AI and decision making over there at MIT. So it's really nice to just see my ideas come to fruition and just be able to test it on millions of users. You can just see how much theoretical CS and AI applies in real life.
That's amazing. And what's the name of the company again?
Yes, the name of the company is Polymorph. It's a YCW26 startup.
When I was 16, I first got into the content creation world, and this is kind of where I'm operating out of right now. I got an opportunity to work for Mr. Beast and move myself to Greenville, North Carolina. I was there until I was 18 and then decided to go study at U Chicago. I was studying economics. Thought I wanted to go down the corporate finance route, kind of discovered the startup space. Ended up raising pre-seed and then dropping out. And now I'm here today, meeting more folks in the startup world and trying to learn from my business. My company is called Addicted. We basically predict retention curves for videos before you upload them. And then we can optimize your content to boost retention. Literally any company that's putting content out into the world should be using Addicted. Everybody should be optimizing content. It's like poker. If you can reduce the variance from video to video, you can win more in the long run. And so it operates very similarly.
I graduated high school a few months ago, and I decided to take a full-time offer as a computational neuroscience researcher at a brain technology company called Egra.
Wow, so you're not going to college?
Yeah, no college for now.
Tell us about that decision.
So I think the decision largely stems from just observing and noticing how quickly the world around me was changing. So I think that right now we're at an inflection point in human history where knowledge that was previously constrained to a very high echelon of like PhDs, postdocs, people with lots of academic training, now flows a lot more freely through the entire ecosystem. And so I think now more than ever, it's much easier to teach yourself things.
Because you went to a really competitive high school, right?
Yeah, I went to Harker in San Jose.
So it must have been pretty out of the ordinary for you to decide not to go to college.
I definitely faced a lot of backlash, but a good thing is that people are catching up, and like there's a large cohort of people that were really supportive of my decision. So that was cool.
College could be a great place to meet potential co-founders, especially if it's in deep tech.
What are you most excited about at MIT?
Definitely excited for the plethora of robotics clubs. I hope to join some of them and get into that, as well as like the research opportunities for undergrad students. There's a lot of them, so I hope to get involved.
You're in college right now?
Yeah, I'm a sophomore, rising sophomore at UT Austin.
And are you thinking about dropping out or staying in school? What do you recommend?
Well, Jensen said yesterday he said stay in school. So he said the fundamentals matter. So I think we'll have to listen to Jensen for a little bit.
Good advice.
So 2 years ago, my best friend died due to an earthquake, and it took them 3 to 4 days to search. Even though they had drones then, they weren't able to search as fast because of the number of pilots, and coordinating with them was super hard. So this software lets them do that in a much better way, so they can search faster. And this is kind of something that I feel like should have been existed, but it's not. So I'm trying to build it out so it exists now.
So I think overall throughout my life, I've kind of had to overcome a lot of age-related challenges. Like people told me, no, you can't do this. No, you can't do that because you're too young. You won't be able to do that. I represented the USA at the International Linguistics Olympiad at 14, one of the youngest people ever to represent the USA. And I got into Oxford at 14. I think I've proven that whether you're too young or too old, there's no too young or too old. Age doesn't really matter.
And so you had to get a special visa, right?
I had to sort out all the legal things to go, but I think I was able to because it's a lot of support.
Also, there were some issues with the government since they hadn't seen a case like his before. Issued a student visa to someone who wasn't 16 yet since he started when he was 15. So there was a lot of perils and we were scared, but he got it.
He made it. Amazing. Do you have any advice for people in high pressure situations, how they can relax, calm down a bit, get things done?
Always have that positive self-talk, that voice inside your head to tell yourself to keep going and envision your success. Before you go out and do something stressful, run through and envision what that looks like. I find that extremely valuable and being able to then execute when the time comes.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in manifestation.
Yeah.
It's a bit woo-woo, but I think it works.
During my first year in IOI, it was 2020. That was a COVID year.
Okay.
All the schools are closed. I didn't have anything to do, so I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna lock in on combat programming for 8 hours a day. And yeah, so that's how I got my first IOI medal.
Amazing.
It was a really fun year.
Amazing. And then I heard you also coached the IOI team for Singapore.
We got 2 golds, 2 silvers. It was Singapore's second best performance. So really proud of them. I did 2 years of military service in the Singapore Air Force. They didn't put me in any tactical role. They literally just put me as I was air defense weapon operator, which in real life meant my job was to point a missile at aircrafts.
I feel that what makes the IMO and IOI, like the Olympiads back in high school, so special is that it cultivates a lifelong attitude of learning, which is something that Jensen Huang told us about. If you're here, you just have to keep on learning, foster this kind of attitude, and you'll get somewhere great in life.
Never, ever, ever quit.
Yes.
I've been working on this technology for over 3.5 years now, came up with a couple publications, a couple pending patents. And I think there's been several instances where I just wanted to quit and just move on because, stuff didn't work for a very, very long time. It's kind of frontier technology in the space of ag tech. It's really complicated.
Yeah.
But I think find mentors. I think mentors are really, really helpful, really impactful, especially because we're all so young. We don't know what we don't know.
Any advice for people trying to get internships like that in the future?
Well, I think being somewhere here like YC Startup School is a great spot. There's a lot of people, and just talking to people was the best way.
Being a young student shouldn't hold you back in founding a new team and leading other students who are much more experienced than you. Yeah, sometimes you just have a good idea and you learn the fastest when you just start and bring together a new team.
I think one of the things I learned kind of the hard way is it's really important to just start small, work your way up from a really small thing, and then it's much easier to start small and then get big versus we're doing big and then small. There isn't any secret tricks, just train out. I mean, I think that's what Jensen said, right?
Yeah. You just gotta do it.
Yeah, just gotta do it.
Just get started building. Dude, nobody's gonna give you permissions.
If you just do what you're passionate about and continue on with activities that you really enjoy, then it doesn't feel like anything different than just doing what you like. So
A lot of what I did, like even just for fun, like I would like scroll Wikipedia articles. I would like go on Google Earth and just like explore. I think that it's really important to like have this culture of learning. And this will just like continue on in the rest of your life.
So Jimmy, Mr. Beast, is obsessed. He's obsessed with content. He always thinks about content. I try to carry that into our own company, but I also try to find balance as well, because I feel like that's one of the drawbacks is like you need to be obsessed with the problem you're working on. Our company is in the content realm. You know, we're obsessed about the problem that we're trying to solve, which is predictive analytics for a video editor.
The biggest thing I would say is just take the risk. Like, there's never been a better time to take the risk. All the things that people would have considered risky just a few years ago, those things don't have as much downside anymore. And so really when you're considering the opportunity cost of like doing something out of the ordinary, I think the decision is much clearer now.
we both work very well together. We enjoy each other's company and we can communicate very well. If we had to have positions, we both kind of have a share in everything, but he knows more about the deep technical things that he's learned at Oxford and Stanford.
We both share the technical knowledge and the executive too. Because there's some projects you'll take the leadership role, other projects I will. We'll both implement parts of it. It depends really. We love working with each other, but we also love working with other people too.
So I'm from the Philippines, and it's just like really nice to be able to see like other people from the Philippines like create startups backed by the most amazing Y Combinator.
Pilot that I got was like with WOM intros, and YC, I'm applying for the fall batch, so I'm super excited for it.
Yeah.
It's due in 2 days, so I need to get that done.
That's true.